Welcome, guys, to Boost Camp. Whether you wanted to be here or your parents have decided that this is where you're going to spend from 4:15 to 5:15. Welcome. Most video games, so yeah. Uh, Mr. Heiss, if you guys don't know, most of you have me. So this is Mr. Heiss, okay, my best friend. I'm Mr. Damowitz. I know most of you except for you, but I know you from volleyball. So, and then also online. So thank you for coming. We are going to go through, the goal today is to go through the entire quarter one, and we're going to go pretty quickly. The graphic organizer that I have sent you guys and I have put in the description below for you guys is for this review. So as we go through it, the idea is to use the review, and use up here what you see and what I'm explaining, and write down any notes that you need to on here. You're not turning this into me. You're not like giving this to your mom or dad. Okay. This review and the reason why you're here is to help you on the EOC. Okay. And believe, like Mr. Heiss and I have seen it, there are some kids that are literally that one question away from passing. And this does make a huge difference of just refreshing from first quarter, second quarter, and for some of you guys, even the third quarter. So quarter one today, we're going to go through, and we have topic one is going to be citizenship. Topic two is elections and political parties. Three, propaganda and media. And four is forms and systems of government. We are going to go through these pretty quickly. Some of these you're going to be like, man, Mr. I remember all of this. Some of it, it's going to be a little bit of a, wait a minute. Yeah, that was in August. That was a couple months ago, okay? Quite a few months ago. So the refresher is good. And seeing it on paper, some of you are like, oh, I remember some of these. But we're going to go through. And the first one that I'm going to talk about, the first two, then Mr. Heiss, we're going to do a switcheroo. Mr. Heiss is going to talk about topics 3 and 4. And that's how we're going to kind of work it. So topic one, all about citizenship. And if you remember going back in August, the big thing that you need to know about citizenship is, one, defining what it was. Okay, so that was step one. Two, how to become a citizen. And then that last part is the rights, responsibilities, obligations. Okay, and going back in class, we had a chart. We talked about examples of each one. And we're going to talk about a little bit of those today as well. So not that you guys need it, but I wanted to show this to you guys. This is from the actual test specs themselves, what you need to know specifically. So I essentially took exactly what was on the previous slide on there. There are some specific things in the benchmark clarifications, and I'll send this to you guys if you really want to look at it. Some of you are like glazed over looking like, no, I don't. I just want to know what I need to know for the test. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. That's what we're going to do. So next. All right, so these are going to be, and this is on your graphic organizer that I sent you guys out. So make sure you have this. As we're going through this, fill in. You don't have to be word for word what I have on the screen, but I'm going to call on some of you guys if you want to explain it. If you don't, okay, and you just want to hear me talk it through, great. As I'm talking it through, fill in some of those things if you need to. Most of you and your parents will want to see, hey, what did you learn? This is a good, like, hey, dinner conversation. Well, I learned this, Mom, and then like share it with her on her Google account. That'd be fun. But these are the things that we're going to talk about specifically, and I'm going to actually, yep, I'll just go through. Yeah. All right. So citizenship, okay? Really quickly, who can remind me what amendment, not that it's on your page or anything, what amendment defines citizenship, Julian? Not looking at the, or is it what? 14th, okay? So the 14th Amendment is what defines citizenship. So the definition of the 14th Amendment, yes, and it's literally on your graphic organizer, the second thing down. So that's what I thought you were looking at. Now, it says, and it states, all persons born or naturalized are citizens, or sorry, born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. And it also goes on to say, and the state of which they reside. So it says you are not only a citizen of the country, but you're also a citizen of the state as well. And that goes into previously what we just talked about here in the fourth quarter when we talked about state government. You are a citizen of the state as well as the United States. But the big two key words of this are what? Okay, born or naturalized. Okay, don't say neutralized. That means a totally different thing. Okay, but born or naturalized. So when we're looking at this, let's talk about natural born first. So when we say natural born, okay, that's naturalization. Sorry, let's talk about naturalization first. Naturalization is very simply the process of being naturalized, of going through the process of becoming a citizen. Okay, so that's all that is. Now, there were some steps in becoming a citizen. Does anyone remember some of the steps? I didn't put it on the slide, but what were some of the steps? Okay, you have to take a U.S. history / civics test. It more or less is called the naturalization test, but yes, that's what the contents is about. Mackenzie? Okay, 18 or older. Okay, read, write, and speak English. Good moral character. Okay, there's an interview, and the reason why I kind of pause on like the speaking is because for the interview, obviously it's in English. Okay, that's 5. 2 more. Oath of allegiance is the very last one. Anyone? I know this is going back far. We said the test. Rhiannon? Okay. Yes. All right. Savior. Rhiannon. Yes. So you have to live and reside. I'll use the word reside. Okay. We have to reside in the U.S. for 5 years, or there's one little caveat. You can be,
If you're married, a citizen, it's 3 years.
or
If you're
yes.
not close,
Yes. Okay. So you will see some immigrants that will come in. They will become or go through the naturalization process. They will join the military, and that knocks off 2 years automatically. 1, you get paid, you get a job, and 2, you also reduce the time it takes to become a citizen as well. All right. Now, the natural born citizen. This is the one that's fun because there's 2 separate ones, and actually talking about becoming president and talking about your constitutional right to become or become the president, it says natural born citizen, and it can be either of these 2. Okay, more or less, it's always been one, but it could be another one. So the first one is going to be law of blood. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you put first. It's not written anywhere, or it's not written specifically in the Constitution. But law of blood is what? What is the law of blood? Abby. Yeah. All right. So Abby says if your parents are Americans, what about if your great grandparents were Americans? Okay. It's a go ahead. Yes. Yes. So one one parent is an American citizen. The other one can be from another citizen. Now, going back to my original question, as long as your parents, okay, claim their citizenship as a U.S. citizen through law of blood, and they are U.S. citizens, it only goes back to your parents. Okay, so if somewhere in your ancestry they were in America and then they moved to Italy, okay, and then they are now Italian citizens and they renounce their American citizenship, you no longer have that claim, okay, if your parents are citizens, okay, unless we have our second one, which is law of soil, okay, and law of soil is, Christina? Yes, you can be born one of 3 places. What is one, Abby? Okay, a territory. What else? Okay, an actual state, or okay, a military base. Okay, so state, an actual state, a territory, or military base. So if you're born on Guam, okay, which is an American territory, you are a U.S. citizen by birth, law of soil. Now, if your parents are also U.S. citizens, which a lot of you in this case, when we talk about like, well, you're a U.S. citizen, a lot of you will say, well, I both apply to me, law of blood and law of soil. So it doesn't really matter which one you claim. You are a U.S. citizen through either. Now, 2 key words that you need to know: immigrants. An immigrant is what? What is an immigrant doing? Yes. Okay. So yes. Okay. Someone who is immigrating means they are moving here. Okay. And they're probably more than likely going through the process of naturalization. Now, they could be here on a work visa, especially here in Florida, and specifically in Central Florida, Disney has a program in which they bring people. If you ever go to Epcot and you see like the little their name tag that says, "Oh, they're from Colombia." Cool. Okay. They're not just here just because, they want to be here. They're here for a program to obviously work at Disney, and they like are working either in Epcot in their cultural heritage. But sometimes they work in different parts. So you have people that are here working for that. And then the second one is reside or residence. Residence. Okay. And if you reside or you're a resident, that means what? Okay. You're living there. Okay. You're living there. Okay. So very simply, you're living in a certain area. In this case, we are talking about the United States. All right. And then this last one, forgive me, and this big chart. Okay. But the gist of this, and most of you guys get all of this stuff, especially when we talk about naturalization, the 14th Amendment, okay? You get the definition of citizenship. The big part that sometimes gets a little misconstrued in this topic is the difference between a right, the difference between a responsibility, and the difference of an obligation, okay? So looking at our first one is going to be rights, okay? What is a right? Ethan. Who gives you that ability? Yes, okay. So in this case, the government is giving you the ability to do that freedom, okay? And we refer to this as the government gives you freedoms, right? So an example of this will be freedom of speech. So you get, according to the Bill of Rights, which we'll talk about not next week, but the following week, okay? You get in the Bill of Rights the freedom of speech. You also get a bunch of other freedoms within even the First Amendment, okay? You get 5 other freedoms. So that's rights, okay? Rights are pretty simple in the fact of they're given to you, okay? Can you lose your rights?
Yes.
If you're, no matter what, if you're a naturalized or born citizen, can you lose your rights? Give me a situation in which you lose your rights. Boom. Okay, perfect. Okay, you go to jail, you lose some of your rights. One of them is the right to vote, okay? In most states. Now, some states are actually changing that in the fact of some, depending on the crime and depending on situations, they are actually able to. Yes. Too soon. Too soon. No pun intended. All right. Our next one is responsibilities. Now, one word to define what a responsibility is. One word. Tier. One word. Mm. 2 words, and that's definitely not expected. A job. It's something that you, and the word that I highlighted is should do. Okay, you should do. Now,
Expected is a more.
there is, so in the examples here, I know they're a little bit small for you guys, but so voting, attending civic meetings, petitioning the government, and running for office. Now, do you have to run for mayor of Castleberry or mayor of Orlando or wherever you're living in the future? No, you don't. Okay, but it's something that if you, I don't want to say if you care about your community and you want to see a betterment in it, you should do it. But a step in the direction is, hey, maybe you attend some meetings at the city council. Okay, you listen to what they're saying. You talk to a couple of different constituents. You run for office potentially later on. Okay, petition the government. You see that there is actually at this school. While I was going through college, there was a dad that was in my college class that petitioned the school and then petitioned the school board the entrance into the school to change it because it was very hard to maneuver for some people. Okay, they actually added 2 lanes in and out of the school because of that. The last one is going to be obligations. All right, and obligations is, Julian. Okay, you have to do, you must do. So an example of this is selective service or even following the law. Now, selective taxes is another one. Mass, it's hard to see. Yeah, mass. All right, so mass. Taxes, yes. Paying taxes. Now, selective service, if you are a male, okay, ages 18 to 26, you are responsible for signing up for the selective service, meaning if selective service, meaning it's also known as like the draft. if we ever go to war. You are willing and able. Okay, it's kind of a backwards way of thinking, but you are willing and able, but you're mandated to sign up for it. The logic is flawed, but it's essentially if we go to war, we will send you if need be. Okay, we haven't used it in quite a long time, so chances are we will not go to it. Yes. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to go through, actually, because of time-wise, we're only going to go through one question. So the one question that we're going to look at is, which statement completes the diagram? I'll give you guys about 30 seconds. On your graphic organizer, I just want you to put the letter. Okay, so you have be of good moral character, possess basic knowledge of U.S. history and government, read, write, and speak English. Okay, eligibility for what? So what statement completes the diagram? A, joining a military service. B, obtaining a driver's license. C, becoming a naturalized citizen. Or D, receiving a social security card.
Definitely B.
Definitely. Oh. Canceled. You get it. You typically get it at birth. Your mom probably has your social security card. Basically, your social security number is really important. Your card is what you're issued that has your number on it with your name. Probably, yes. Okay. All right. And we know the correct answer to this is what, Mackenzie? C. Okay. Becoming a naturalized citizen. Thank you very much. All right. We're going to jump to topic number 2. Okay. I'm going to try to do this next one in 10 minutes because it's not that bad. Okay.
You did the first one in 18.
I know. Next one I can do in 10. I promise you. All right.
Yeah,
So elections. Elections also include political parties. So we're going to talk about understanding the ideas and differences between America's current political parties and how the nation elects its representatives. Okay. So these are two-party system. A two-party system is very simply what? And sorry, socialist got left on here because I didn't press the button on it. But two-party system is what? What is parties? Okay. Two major parties, okay, political parties are going to be used in representing us. Okay, so a political system that includes two majority parties, and our system that is the, please no, not everyone at once. Yes, the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, Democrats and Republicans. Now, a third party is who? Okay. Wow. Now, someone that claims themselves to be independent, they are independent from the two major parties. They could be classified as a third party member. Okay, but a third party is a smaller political party outside of the two major parties, and they typically believe in one cause. So I think the biggest example I gave to you guys outside of the ones that you'll see in a little bit is like the Green Party. Okay, the Green Party is very environmentally motivated. You mean the color green? Now, when they run for office, their platform, and we'll talk about platform in a second, is going to be revolving around one topic, and that is being eco-friendly. Okay. Now, that does sound a lot like another political party. Which party does more for like the notion of global warming? Okay, the Democrats. Okay, so one thing that happens to third parties, if they do have good ideals, what will happen is some of the bigger parties, the two major parties, will absorb those ideas because the more people that obviously believe in that idea, the more voters that major party gets. Okay, so if they have some people believing in that, they'll kind of pick up those ideas, put those in their platform, so that way they have a new group of people voting for them. Okay. The next term is, I believe, platforms. So platform, kind of think of old school style, you stand on it, your soapbox, so to say. Okay. It's what the beliefs of the parties are. Okay. And we'll talk very briefly about each of the political parties and their beliefs. But it's the beliefs that they have as a whole. Now, could you disagree with some of them? Okay. Yeah. Okay. as an individual, you do have obviously free thought and the idea to kind of think outside of your political party. But as a norm, as a whole, when we say Democrats, when we say Republicans, when we say libertarians, okay, those political parties have a general party platform. Okay. Now, we do have, and I think, Mr. Heiss, you can just click on through until we see all the political parties here. Should be good right there. All right. So Democrats, Republicans, Libertarian, Communists, and Socialists, those are the 5 that are listed as what you can potentially see on the end of course exam. Now, in class, we did like a whole line where we kind of put them on a scale, okay, of how conservative or how liberal they were. So in terms of these, the first major 2, Democrats, what are some things that we remember? What do the Democrats believe in? Obviously, we talked about one thing earlier, and that was, okay, climate change, global warming, right? What else?
The one with the
They like
2
elephants.
people of the same gender can marry.
Okay. So they believe in same-sex marriage. Okay. Yes, Rachel. Okay. Equal rights. Okay. Now, yes, in the Democratic Party, you will see higher taxes. Why? What is the purpose of raising more taxes? What is that money going towards? Okay. Well, it's going towards the government. What is the government going to use it for? Okay. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay. It could be roads. Okay. Specifically for the people, right? Different programs like SNAP. Okay. Which is like a government welfare program to help poorer income families or lower socioeconomic families have access to healthy foods. Abby. Yeah, so part of that, along with roads and schools, okay? Now, we are talking more federalism. We are paid more by the state. However, that doesn't say that some federal funding doesn't go into the pot as well. And they are, when we talk about Democrats, we'll talk about them as more liberal, more to the left, okay? So think about it. They do have higher taxes. They want to be more involved in your daily life. Okay, they want to help you out, more or less. Think of, whereas Republicans, okay, are specifically going to be, think of almost kind of the opposite, not super far off opposite, but they're to the right. We classify them as more conservative, lower taxes, more hands off. Okay, if anything, Republicans really stand on the ground of it is the local government and the community that should be making decisions, not the state or the federal government when it's talking about you and your livelihood. Okay. So in the situation of, we talked about in class of the notion of, oh, well, somebody is in need. Okay. Whereas a Democrat will say, hey, the government needs to step in. We have different programs that will help them out, different housing programs, different programs that help them with food. Republicans will look at the notion of community, okay? The community as a whole, to keep the price and keep taxes down, it's going to be, hey, local churches, local people can step in, local communities can step in and do that and help that person out with less government involvement, okay? So the less government involvement, the better in that case. They also believe in strict understanding of the Constitution. So when we look at judges, okay, when we look at more conservative judges or more, even though judges don't idealize as, or they don't identify as Republican or Democrat, judges will say that they read the Constitution and they convey it as it was expected to be read in when it was written in 1780s. Okay, whereas the Democrats will take a more modern adaptation of it. So what we believe in today, kind of mixing that with the interpretation or the written words from back then. Okay. Now, the 3 other parties, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Very briefly, Libertarian is a more conservative group. Communists and socialists are more liberal. Communism and socialism, the reason why I'm not going to talk about them is because Mr. Heiss is going to talk about them when we talk about forms of government, and that will make more sense and align with that. But libertarian is kind of that more conservative offshoot, very much so that they are like hands off. They want little to no government interference. They are a little bit more conservative if we're talking about the ideological scale. Those of you that are really into whether it's what symbol it is that, I believe it's a hedgehog or porcupine, hedgehog. Whereas the Democrats are the donkey, Republicans are. He did say that earlier, so that's why I brought it up. All right. Any questions? We're going to do one question on one test question, and then we're going to move on. Yes. Yes. Okay. Electoral college. Sorry, that's the one thing I did not put in there. The electoral college is how we select who? The president. Okay. Boom. And it's based off of the number of representatives each state gets. So Florida, as of right now, because the new census hasn't been taken into account, in which we will probably gain two more members of the House. But right now it is 29 because we have 27 members of the House of Representatives and 2 senators combined. That means 29 electoral votes. Okay, so looking at this campaign poster, we've got 2 people that are pinned up against each other, okay, that are running for mayor. According to the information on the poster, what is the reason Maria could be considered more qualified than Todd to be elected mayor? A, her political policies. B, her college education. C, her campaign promises. Or D, her experiences working in government. Okay, give you guys about 20 seconds. Just look carefully at the posters. Think about what makes one more qualified. What makes Maria more qualified than Todd?
How's an underdog? A firefighter, Boy Scout, group leader, Little League. You can't beat those requirements.
Now, let me just say this. Even to be president, is there an educational requirement to be? No, okay? So you don't have to have any formal education, okay? It's definitely not B, okay? All right. What would be a reason? What would be a reason? Ethan, go ahead. Okay, D. Now, one of the biggest things, and especially for this standard, in talking about the difference between identifying who has political experience and what makes them basically qualified for a job, one of the biggest ones is experience, okay? And the correct answer is D, okay? All right. Any questions about topic 1 or topic 2?
This one right here.
You can keep it on that one. Yep. All right. I'm going to pass off the baton, and I think we might, by the grace of all things civics, we might get.
Thanks for the excitement. Thanks for the excitement.
All right.
Thanks for the excitement.
Thanks for the excitement.
Appreciate it. They don't care. Love the enthusiasm. Topic 3, propaganda in media. This is all about how somebody in government, how somebody that's a celebrity, how something on Instagram can change your mind, can make you buy something, or make you do something, or make you change how you believe, right? And so they have it on the Google Doc, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for this one, we don't really have like the notes page where you can just copy down. So this is going to be more of listen to what I say and type down what you need from it, okay? So you can just go to the terms. So propaganda at the top, all right? We did 7 types of propaganda, which we'll cover on the next slide. Famous example from our country here. This is a figure, Uncle Sam, symbolizes patriotism, love of country, right? And Uncle Sam wants you to do what in the picture? Join the military, okay? The goal here is to get you to do something, to get you to join the military. So any type of propaganda, okay, propaganda is media. This could be commercials, billboards, newspaper ads, radio ads that tries to persuade you. There's the key word. So for propaganda, any media that tries to persuade you, it wants you to change your mind. If a political candidate wanting your vote, they're going to use propaganda to get you to vote for them. They can do it a lot of different ways. They can pay for an ad that makes them look like the greatest American ever. They pay for an ad that makes their opponent look like the worst American ever, which is mostly what we see. But propaganda, anything to get you to change your mind. Think about McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Okay. That's propaganda. It's getting you to buy McDonald's. All right. Now, sticking on the idea of like political leaders and voting for one party, voting for another, there's bias involved a lot of times. So, what is bias? Everyone's got it. Okay. There we go. Leaning towards one side more than other. Bias can come from tons of different places. I would say most commonly it comes from who you're around when you're growing up. I feel like for both of us, we had a political bias growing up that changes as we get older. You're not around the same people when you turn our age as you are when you're 15 or 12 or whatever. Biases can change. Biases could also be simply like my example I always give. I'm not a big football fan. Football's not really my thing. But if you say, Mr. Heiss, who's your favorite football team? I'll say Jacksonville Jaguars. Even though I know they suck, I'm from Jacksonville. My bias, thank you, my opinion leads me to say the place where I grew up. I won't have a reason. I won't be able to tell you a single player. Isn't Fournette gone? He's like the only one I knew. See, I knew that at least. He was gone. I can't give you a reason. It's just my bias. I grew up in Jacksonville. My dad was a big fan. We went to games. So I lean towards liking them. So bias, when it turns into politics, political ideas, or how you vote, how you look at their platforms, is just your one-sided opinion. Or maybe the one side you want to research more than the other. It's not taking in both sides. Media, just real simple. Any form of communication, any form of thing you can look at, thing you can hear, thing you can read. So it's pictures, it's movies, and then you can break it down into social media, right? Social media is a big deal for even government now. The president, the Supreme Court, they all have their own Twitter page, okay? So media would be any way you get information. Newspaper, radio, television, Snapchat, it's all media. Any way to get in information. And media is a tool that propaganda will use, okay? So any propaganda you see, like this picture, that's media, okay? It's just propaganda used as a photo. What about watchdog? Anyone remember that? I like this term. It's a fun term. The news has to act like a watchdog. This is a very good thing. This is a good thing for us. So if the news is a watchdog, what is it doing? Yeah, good. Okay, don't think of it as private. If somebody in government is a liar and is cheating and we're paying tax money and they're using that tax money to gamble, do we have a right to know that? Yeah, so the news alerts us. This is why they're called a watchdog. If you have a dog and someone that doesn't belong in your house like comes up to your yard, to your door, what's the dog going to do? Going to bark. So the news is supposed to bark. The news is supposed to alert us. So it's not necessarily, don't think of it as private. We want to know if our government is failing us. We need to know if the government is lying or someone in government is lying, cheating, stealing. Connect this to an amendment for me. The news needs to tell us this type of information. Yeah. Freedom of press. Okay. If the government controls the news, we don't have a way to know if the government's lying, cheating, whatever. So we need the watchdog. We need the news to tell us what's going on, good and bad. And if we know we've got someone in government that maybe they're using their bias too much, maybe then we don't buy into their propaganda. We don't believe their ads, and it informs us a way to vote them out of office. Okay. All right. These next three. We talked about up here ways that the government can influence us, using propaganda to get us to change our mind, ways something like McDonald's or Pepsi can get us to buy stuff. But these next three are all about how we can change the government, okay? So interest groups, they focus on one thing. literally there's thousands of them. There's an interest group for teachers. There's an interest group for students. There's an interest group, could be an interest group for gamers, for sports, like for athletes, whatever. And their job is to get lawmakers to make laws about the interest. So for teachers, okay, so an interest group for teachers is going to go and talk to lawmakers, and they're going to ask those lawmakers, try to get those lawmakers to make laws that help teachers, that help students, that help schools, okay? So interest groups try to convince lawmakers to make laws about that interest, all right? I'm going to do a little bit of, I don't know if you'll be able to like, I'm going to draw like a little chart that's going to help us with this. Maybe you can write it out once I'm done. But we have interest groups, okay? Interest groups can hire people called lobbyists. So they can hire people called lobbyists. These lobbyists, they dress up in fancy suits, suit and a tie. They go to see the lawmaker. They're like, hey, you want to go have a fancy steak dinner? I'm going to pay for it. Okay, they take them to a fancy steak dinner. They might take them to a sports game or whatever. And at that dinner, while they're making them feel good, giving them this great meal or whatever, they're going to say, hey, how about this group I represent? These teachers down here in Florida are working really hard, staying after school, helping their kids and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you should make some laws that would help. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe if you do, I'll give you some more baseball tickets or something like that. But these lobbyists, they're just meant to go and talk to these lawmakers, to bring the lawmakers what the interest group believes in. So the lobbyists come, they talk to lawmakers. And what's the goal? They want the lawmakers to make what? Laws for the interest groups, right? And then the laws go here. So again, I don't know if you can do the circle thing, but maybe you could just go interest groups, hire lobbyists, lobbyists talk to the lawmakers, lawmakers make laws for the interest groups. It's just a big circle. Yeah. How would you explain this? Because they have rules. There are a lot of rules for this. Like they can't just go and like, hey, we're going to buy you a giant boat if you make a law that says like schools are closed 5 days a week, or I don't know, something crazy.
It's not, yeah, I wouldn't. It's legal driving. The word persuade comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's persuade with good intention.
Yeah, it's a good thing to think about because if there are lobbyists that are breaking these rules and it does turn into a bribe, they obviously shouldn't have that job. Or if these lawmakers are taking what breaks the rules, if the lobbyists go too far and the lawmakers accept it, then hey, the news needs to let us know. We don't want to vote for that lawmaker anymore if they're accepting like too far, if they're taking the rules too far with these lobbyists. Yeah. More like what? Oh, yes. No, that's exactly what they are. Yeah. The lobbyists take the information from the interest group to the lawmakers. Yeah. Yeah. Like a mediator. Yeah. And then in the middle here, just like with most things, the thing that drives this whole chart is money. In order for an interest group to collect money and donate money to, let's say there's a new governor candidate that like teachers believe is going to help out the interest group and do something great for schools. The interest group has to create a political very way for me to remember that PACs are all about what? Money. Okay. If the interest group is going to donate to a lawmaker or to a candidate for president or governor, they have to go through a PAC. This is where these rules come in. So bribery doesn't happen. Okay. Campaign donations can't really be like manipulated or cheated or tax money be taken for it or whatever. It has to go through the Political Action Committee, the PAC. That's where the rules are for how money can be donated. So all of this is just driven by money, and it has to be used by those PACs. And that's why I put the dollar sign there when I write it. I feel like we can do this one. And yeah, this is it. We'll do forms next time. All right. Almost done. Where the next part of your organizer should be the 7 types of propaganda. still hear some of y'all typing, so we'll give it just another minute. So just all of this, it's all about money here. Okay, that's why I have those packs. Propaganda meant to persuade you to get you to buy something or vote for someone so they can get a job, so they can make money. Like money drives it all. So 7 types. Did you do the gallery wall for this, or did you do it on the computer?
We do.
So we'll start off again. Propaganda, try to persuade you. The one everyone normally knows is, go ahead, bandwagon. It's a lot of times used in sports reference. So when I think about bandwagon, what basketball team won last year, the finals? You want to know? Lakers. That's a good example. So in like the 90s, the Lakers got Kobe, they got Shaq, right? So the Lakers they're always been a big team. So imagine a big giant wagon, like cowboy wagon, and it's yellow and purple. That's the Lakers colors, right? Yellow and purple. All right. And then they get Kobe and they get Shaq and they start winning. So more and more people are going to want to jump on that wagon. Eventually it's just full. People are like hanging on to it, trying to go. Maybe they never cared about the Lakers before, but they like Kobe or they like Shaq. So they join it anyway. Now, if we connect that to something like politics, it might just be like, hey, vote Republican. Everyone in your state's voting Republican, okay? Or, hey, your family might say, hey, your whole family votes this way, do it too, something like that. It's going along with the crowd, okay? Yeah. Like what? Yes, could be. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. For the sports reference, that's exactly it. So bandwagon, it's going along with the crowd. It's peer pressure. Yeah, Julie? Yep, that's it. It's peer pressure doing it because everyone else is doing it. I think when we did this, we had a picture of Steve Jobs, the creator of Apple, and it mentioned 100 million iPhones sold. So basically he's saying if 100 million people have an iPhone and you don't, you're missing out. You need to jump on the bandwagon. You need to join us. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Testimonials. Celebrity. Okay. Somebody famous. Most of the time, they're paid to get you to buy something. So Taylor Swift going on a Diet Coke commercial. And she's trying to get her fans to buy Diet Coke. Okay. LeBron James doing a McDonald's commercial. The way I always say it in class, like, do you really think one of the world's best athletes go to McDonald's all the time? And the picture, he's sitting there by himself, smiling, and it's all clean and everything. Come on. No, not happening. Okay. So testimonials is a celebrity. They're normally getting paid. Now, they could just say, all right, I'm a celebrity. I believe in this candidate. I've got 1 million followers on Instagram, and they might put it out there as their own testimonial. So sometimes when you get to like political testimonials, maybe they're not being paid for those. Julia? Exactly. That's the big one that was like earlier this year. Where was that? McDonald's or Burger King? Or? McDonald's, yeah. So maybe Travis Scott really loves McDonald's, but he's definitely getting paid for that. Every time you buy one of those, probably he's getting paid. All right, transfer. Think about like Dawn dish soap. They have the cute, cuddly penguin, and they say like, if you don't buy Dawn dish soap, this penguin's gonna die. How does that make you feel? Should make you feel sad because penguins rule and they're super cute and cuddly. Or Charmin, right? Or is it Charmin, the little teddy bear? Right? You see the teddy bear, you feel comfy and cozy and everything. So transfer, you feel something, so you do something. Okay. Use your feelings to get you to buy something, to vote for somebody, to dislike someone. Transfer is all about feelings, making you feel something, so you do something. It's very much dark side propaganda there. Card stacking. Stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of information. Right? So you might get 2 products, and whoever's making this ad is going to give you all of the good facts about their product and only the bad facts about another product. So the good stuff's going to go way up high. Okay? But they're not giving you both sides of the story. So card stacking, stack. It's a lot of information, but it's full of bias. It's one side. Yeah, Tilly. Perfect. The like paper towel commercials, right? Whenever they do that, So Bounty, if Bounty's making it, Bounty's showing you their absolute best paper towel, and then they say the competitor, and they're giving you like the worst paper towel that ever existed. So they're stacking all of their good info, but not giving you the other side. It's very, very biased. Yeah, Julie. Oh, sorry. Yes, sir. He's fine. Yeah, he's got some paper towel issues.
Like the dog food commercial, like the one where all the animals come through.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, you mean for transfer, like the sad dog commercials? That's transfer. Like, yeah, give us money, pay for the dog. Oh yes, yeah. Name calling. This is the big one you do see, unfortunately, in hey, elect me because the other guy is a big fat jerk. Except they don't say big fat jerk. They will try to point out something the person said that maybe if you look at it a certain way, makes them seem not the great candidate. So name calling is using negative words, negative images, negative like interpretation to make the opponent look bad. Okay. Hopefully they're not just outright calling each other poo-poo heads and stuff like that, but they're going to imply that the other person's a poo-poo head. So name calling, making the other side or the opponent or the other brand look bad. The one we used in class is a Burger King ad. It made the Whopper look gorgeous and really big, and it made the Whopper look small and really crappy. And it was, or the Big Mac, not the Big Mac looked really bad. So yeah, both of them were Burger King. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. To make one side look bad. Yeah. So yeah, and it was Burger King like calling out McDonald's for saying their burger was called a Big Mac when it was smaller than McDonald's. But we all know we've gone to both places and had ugly looking burgers. Like so, name calling is making the other side look bad. My favorite, it's fun to say, glittering generalities. These are simple, short slogans. No real information is given. So Nike, just do it. Make America great again. Obama's was just hope. Okay. If you ask any questions about these sayings, what do they actually mean? Nike. If you don't like, if you're not an athlete, if you don't wear Nike, what does just do it mean for you?
Buy the stuff.
Clearly, they want you. It's just buy it. But what does it actually mean? You know, McDonald's or Burger King, have it your way. Okay. What if I, you know, yeah. What if I want like some rare fish that's only in the North or like Atlantic Ocean, or so you can't get it? Like, what are you gonna? You're gonna do it for that? No, they're not telling you anything real. Make America Great Again's a big one. When was America great before? When did it stop being great? How is it great again? When's it like? There's so many questions you can ask about it, whether you support it or not. It's hard to know.
Reagan actually used that exact same slogan in the 1980s. So it's like, it's the idea of, hey, it has little.
All right, we're almost done. One left. Got one left. So if you want to wait, you can. Yeah. Yes, Arby's. Love it. Okay, last one. Plain folks. Plain folks is when a celebrity or a someone running for office tries to make it appear that they're just like us. They're normal, everyday people. So you might see like the picture we had was President Obama going to like a local basketball court, took off his jacket, his tie, rolled up his sleeves, and he's playing basketball with like neighborhood kids. So I'm just, you know, I'm one of you. I'm not really that different. I'm just a human being, just like you. Don't look at me as something that's crazy different. Okay. So it's when people who like clearly do live different lives because of their job or their money or whatever, make us feel like, or try to remind us that like, I've gone through everything you've gone through. Okay. I'm just like you. Oh, yeah. We got some. Is it 5:15, right?
Yeah. Those are the two questions for this one.
All right. So, based on the government system in the United States, what kind of system do we have? Two-party system. Which individual activity is used to directly influence legislative decisions? Legislative means who? What's legislative? Yeah.
Definitely.
In your
I'm smart enough.
on your graphic organizer, put the letter, what you think it is, and then Mr. Rice is gonna call on a few people.
I don't know their names. You can call them. Otherwise, I'm gonna call Dylan 5 times. And Julian. And JP. Oh, I know more names than I thought. GP. I see you. You say hi to me all the time.
You also have Olivia online as well.
Yes. Oh, she signed in?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Rachel. Hey, if you agree with Rachel and think it's A, watching political debates on television, raise your hand. The support for Rachel is abysmal. Not to put you on the spot, GP. Okay. What do you think the answer is? D. D. If you agree with GP, raise your hand. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were peer pressuring your brother. I thought you were just staring at him to like raise his hand. I was like, that's wrong. All right. So a majority of people have picked D. For those of you that haven't raised your hand, what do you think the answer is? B. Okay. A. Okay. So we got a couple A's, a couple B's. Okay. Julie, I'm not gonna lie. That's how I'm gonna spell your name every time now.
You're more wrong because you chose E. So you chose the answer with your own name spelled wrong.
All right. Correct answer is.
87.
What does the star say? D. Okay. Now, going back to the question and rereading it one more time so we can understand, because this is a little bit of a harder question. And this topic, when you see questions, they are going to be a little bit more difficult like this. So based on the government system of the United States, which Mr. Heiss and we all said, okay, we have a two-party system. We have a democratic federal system, okay? Which individual activity is used to directly influence legislative decisions? So in order to tell Congress what laws need to be made directly, how would they find out? So I do agree, political debates, that's a good way to get an understanding of what they believe in, but is that going to change what they're going to pass laws on? No, not necessarily. You're going to listen to those to find out what they're going to try to pass laws on. Okay. Discussing political issues at work does absolutely nothing. Okay. Besides, obviously, you hear people go on rants. Collecting opinions for a yearbook. For those of you in yearbook, know that no. Okay. That's not going to be a thing. Now, by default, D is there, but also gathering signatures for a petition. You know that if it is something that drives the people so that they have to get so many thousand petitioners to sign it, that legislators are going to have to take a look. Okay. In the state of Florida, they have to have, I believe it's like 8 to 10% of the previous year's voters for it even to be on the ballot for, I know that's for an amendment, but still, you're talking about thousands, if not tens of thousands of people signing something in order for it to even be considered. So if the people are talking in masses like that, people are going to listen. Okay. We do have time for that last question. And this is one that I wanted to bring up because it does have the picture up here. So the question says, the poster below was created in 1917. Okay. So real quick, because we're talking about this now in class, this is like World War I era. Invest your monkey. It's been a long day. Okay. Invest your money with Uncle Sam. Okay. Join the crowd by a Liberty bond. The safest investment in the world pays 3.5%, and it's non-tax possible. So what type of communication is being shown in the poster? A, accurate, B, biased, C, informational, or D, propagandized? Now, the answer is D, okay? So we do know, now, it is a little bit biased, but the main thing we know that is propaganda because it's bandwagon. Now, you can also get a couple of other, what else could you argue is in there? So bandwagon, everyone's doing it. You should too. But what's something else that we can draw? Another of those, you have them right in front of you. What's another type that you can kind of say, hey, it could also be something else? Okay. So the idea or the notion of Uncle Sam is also something else as well. We'll talk about that in a second. The positive side, okay? Yes, Abby? I can't tell if you're thinking or about to have a meltdown because you can't find another one. Yes. All right. GP? All right. Why is it not glittering generalities? Not because you said it, but remember, what is glittering generalities? Simple slogan. Do we have a simple... Such a simple, it's a full sentence. I could see that. I could see it potentially. Don't invest your monkeys. No. Lily. What? Now, going back to that, this, all right, a little bit separate, and we don't need to go fully into that. But remember, PACs you are getting money for those interest groups and everything like that. This specifically, and to give you context, remember I said 1917, we're during what conflict? World War One. Okay, one. Okay, World War One. Now, this is not necessarily a pact, but these are bonds that you give the government. Okay, so you give the government money now, and they'll pay you back later. But they need the money now specifically for what? The war. Okay, the war to end all wars. Okay, World War One. Okay, any questions? And then subsequently, we did have a war 30 years later. Okay, all right. Any other questions, Abby? It is. All right. With that said, thank you guys. So we will do next week. We'll do topic 4. So for those of you that borrowed a computer from me, log out, plug it in. For those of you that borrowed a computer from Miss Miranda, bring them to her classroom. Thank you guys online. We will see you guys next week, if not next class. Have a great day, guys.
All right. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a great day. Next Monday.